Welcome to South Asia in maps, icons and images. This is your facilitator J. Reddy bringing you in-depth knowledge of South Asian region to our audience in the form of images, pictures and icons. Still we are continuing our meanderings in the land of 5 rivers and 5 doabs, Punjab, the land of Sheri Punjab. We covered a lot of depth around about the British Punjab districts, around about 30 plus, and the modern districts of Punjab region for you to be aware so that you can understand Punjab better, around about 57 to 60 districts. We covered most of the rivers extensively, excuse me, and we also covered the lot of doabs, Bist Doab and Bari Doab, Rechna Doab, Chas Doab and Sindh Sagar Doab, Thal region, and also historical cultural regions. Excuse me, what is Punjab, nuances of Punjab and so on. Here I will take up Punjab geography with respect to 1947 partitions. This is not an extensive video presentation on the sad story of partition of India brought by the Islamic ideology. We will deal that appropriate time in appropriate presentations. Here, as a part of Punjab geography, 1947 partitions, we talk about the partition of the doabs, that is partition of Bari Doab. In this presentation, we will not be just covering the geography, we will be covering the lot of ideas which are intimately related to geography, politics, history and personality. And I will try to bring all these things to you and give you a integrated bird's eye view so that you will have a complete picture. I will talk about, so the subtitle of this presentation, that is Punjab Geography, 1947 Partition, Doabs, Islamic Imperialism, Saif-ul-Islam slices away Gurdaspur District, Amritsar District from the Bari Doab. Gurdaspur District, Amritsar District from Bari Doab, and annexes it to Darul Islam, Islamdom. There are a lot of vocabulary, new lingo or language terminology and I notice a lot of Indians even living with Islam for nearly more than 1200 years are not aware of these things. So a serious student of Punjab should be aware of these things, and people watching these videos outside the subcontinent should also be aware of these things. I will give you a brief introduction of these things so that you will be very knowledgeable on this topic. Sorry. We talk about Saif-ul-Islam, that is Talwar-e-Islam. It's a Persian word and Arabic word that means the sword of Islam. That is Islam that imposes Qawwatul Islam. This is the might of Islam, that Islamdom, the Islamic domination of the entire world populated by the Kafirs. When Islam was first introduced in the Arabian soil, in the Hejaz region. Saif-ul-Islam is the sword of Islam, that is Talwar-e-Islam is sword of Islam. Qawwatul Islam is a concept of the might of Islam. Allah divides the mankind into 2 parts, that is Darul Islam, Islamic territory, means peaceful territory, where Mu'mins, Muslims populate or Muslims rule strictly according to their Shariat law, even though population is Kafir. that is Darul Islam. That means they have to control the land and impose the law and order, and you just live paying the taxes, jizya, as a third class non-entity and who does not pose any threat to their political power. At the base, Islam is nothing but a political power under the guise of religion. This is opposed, Darul Islam is opposed to Darul Harb, the Kafir's land, or the land of enemies. Enemies simply, they chose it. Kafir people never considered them enemies. Fellow Punjabis who are not Muslims never considered them enemies, but they considered them because they need to eliminate them. This Qawatul Islam, the might of Islam, the Gabuls, grabs Amritsar District and Gurdaspur districts of historic one political entity, and with a lot of canal irrigation, the railway system, communication and the social order, and cuts away from the heartland of Bari Doab. So, Amritsar district and Gurdaspur district. A serious studies on Islam were not made until 50 years back. The only Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup, Sita Ram Goel ji started intellectual think tank in India, Voice of India. Serious studies, ideological studies from native perspective, from not Abrahamic perspective, native perspective, yogic perspective were undertaken. Sita Ram Goel and Sri Ram Swarup, Acharya Sita Ram Goel, Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup are considered to be India's the topmost intellectuals of the 20th century. A lot of people are not aware because their works are purposefully suppressed by the Macaulay education system and leftist intellectuals who dominate the Indian cultural and intellectual atmosphere. But people who study them and they know what is their worth, and now these studies need to be highlighted. And if you want to know, living in India, outside India or west side of Ravi River, you need to study their works on Islam at a very serious level. I would like to add a note here. A serious criticism of Islam is not a criticism of people born in that religion, which they have no control, are Muslims. So, do not coin the terms Islamophobia or they are against us, they are anti-Muslim. No, it's nothing to do like that. A serious discussion of Islam is a criticism of a religion. Like Hinduism is criticized extensively, Christianity is criticized extensively. Now Christianity is tamed a lot and is very comfortable live with the other people in the Western world. That's what it is. Islam is a closed ideology still. So Allah divides the mankind into two parts, Darul Islam, Darul Harb. And he sees a permanent warfare between these two regions, Allah. He enjoins his converts, followers, Mu'mins, Muslims, whoever has taken this belief system, essentially conditioned and born their families and forced the system. So Islam divided the entire world as Allah divided. So it divided Israel, it divided Bharat, it tried to divide Hyderabad as Usmanistan. During Nizam's time in 1947, Mir Usman Ali Khan's time, Islam tried to divide the Gujarat, Junagadh Nawab at the same time. Islamic sword playing a very barbaric role in East Bengal. The story is too well known to be repeated. Rangapur, Dinajpur, Rajashahi, and Kushtia, Jessore, and Naukali, Chittagong, and all those regions. It also divided Assamese district of Sylhet or Srihat area. So here we are here in this particular Punjab geography, we will be considering division of Bari Doab, that is Amritsar Gurdaspur district. In the other presentation, I will take the division of the Gurdaspur district itself and slicing away the Shakargarh Taluk. Islam is an aggressive belief system, is a self-righteous belief system. He thinks it is right. You cannot criticize this, whatever they say. It is a delusional belief system. It thinks there is an entity called Allah who created the mankind. Everybody has to worship him. And if you don't worship me, they will convert you, kill you, and reduce you the status of dhimmis. It is essentially hate-filled ideology. If you just take away this entire adornment of religion and high-sounding phraseologies, look at it just with a normal mind, it is a hate-filled ideology. It has no spirituality from yogic Hindu perspective, Buddhist perspective. It is simply a conversion-based political ideology that is masked, facaded, or disguised as a religion. If you use the word religion, it's not a contention that we need to argue, question that, but the content we are concerned and we question as a Kafirs or anybody who have their thinking still intact, not carried away this high-sounding phraseology. Essentially, Islam we consider as an aggressive, self-righteous, delusional belief system. It is a hate-filled belief system, conversion-based belief system. It is marketed, it is sold, imposed on the hapless victims, themselves born in their families. That is, in Islam, the Muslim people, very unfortunate, in this prison house of delusion and religion. So, we briefly covered about Darul Islam. Illam is the lighted area where Muslims live, or they have their reign and rule, and Mu'mins are the believers. Enter all the group of believers is Ummah, and essentially the soul thing of Islam, just to take away the fastings, prayers. Every religion has it, and Arabs, before they are forcibly converted by Rasul Muhammad, have these things, and the prayers and fasting. Just Islam hijacked it and made it like in really Islam. The Hajj, Sawan, Salat, all these things were there. So Allah mandates the entire planet Earth to His Rasul, and Rasul's delegates or legatees today, the Muslims, they have to wield their powerful sword, Saif-ul-Islam, and establish Qawwatul-Islam, the might of Islam, converted. That is, in a sense, the Islam is, and that you have to keep in mind whenever we discuss Punjab, west part of Punjab is Islamic territory. That is a native territory alienated by the Islamdom from its people. The conversion totally makes the converts to erase their fast, everything Arabia, everything Islam, everything Harman al-Sharif. For a convert, his land really does not matter. Only Arabia has as matter. This is always the point, theme, when we talk and travel and discuss about the Muslims. So keep that in mind when you interact with them and see how the behavior is. So in the future, as a potential victims, kafirs, we have to be aware of it. Coming back, that is the brief background about Islam, because talking about partition is talking about Islam. That's very important. I see a lot of people simply doesn't deal it. They start talking about the June 3rd plan, Mountbatten plan, Radcliffe Award, the partition committee. These are okay, no problem. But what is the ideological basis? Darul Islam, Darul Harb, Illam and Jahiliya, means Kafirs. This always the three divisions, the land populated by the people and the time the people live, the culture of the people that Allah notices. And now we move into partition of Bari Doab. Here again, for the people who look this video and not looked at this other videos before, this may be a repetition for the people, but again we are trying to put a presentation that is standalone. You need not look the other presentation to get the knowledge. And I will briefly go over what is Bari Doab. The Punjab has a Doab regions. Ab means essentially water body, equals to river. The land between two rivers, two water bodies, two Abs is Doab. Doab. the interflow region, the territory, the land. Sometimes the land between these regions, that is Doab, is elevated also. That is called Bar, B-A-R, Bar. Here we are talking of these Doabs are named based taking the names of the rivers, the first part of the river. So you have Beas River here, and this is Ravi River here. So Beas and Ravi is a Bari Doab. Beas and Ravi is a Bari Doab. Why Beas River here starts near Rohtang Pass, moves along Manali, Kullu and Larji, cuts the Dauladar mountains, and finally at Mandi enters into Kangra Valley or Beas Valley, south of Dauladar regions, separates Gurdaspur, Amritsar from Kapurthala, Hoshiarpur, Mukerian and Sultanpur Lodi, joins Sutlej here, and we see this most of the time Bari Doab is Sutlej River. And why it's still called Bari means there is a historical. The river previously used to flow parallel to Ravi River, still there is a bed. Old Beas bed it is called. Northern part is a bed called Ganji Bar, and southern part is Nili Bar. Here I am not showing that. That's why the name stuck, that Bari Doab, because the heartland of Punjab at that time is Lahore Amritsar region, that is close to the Beas River and Ravi, so the name continues. That you have to keep in mind. So the Sutlej River, here the southern part of the Sutlej River is Bahawalpur state, northern part in the Bari Doab we have Multan District, that is Multan, Lodran, Canal, and historic Sahiwal District, Montgomery District, Sahiwal, Vihari, Pakpatan, Dipalpur, and Wakara, Arifwala, Burewala, and all those areas, and the heartland Lahore District, Lahore, Kasur, Raiwind, Chunian, and so on. And we have Amritsar districts, Amritsar, Ajnala, Tarn Taran, Gurdaspur District, northernmost part of Bari Doab, Pathankot, at the foothills of the Shivalik mountains, then Gurdaspur and Batara. This is the Bari Doab. In 1947, as the Pakistani movement increased, a lot of street violence by Islamic vandals, Islamic gangsterism played an important role, and the British were anxious to leave Bharat, and British didn't partition India. That's very important. Lot of leftist India, they sold this story, and British didn't partition India. It is partitioned by Islam, demanded by Islam, and enforced by the Islamic gangsterism, street riots, and large-scale genocide of the Kafiri people, just scaring the opponents. Opponents at the time who opposed the partition were Congress people who himself are intellectually not that much aware of what Islam is. Naukali riots, Tipera riots in East Bengal, and Kohat riots, Rawalpindi riots, riots everywhere in the Indo-Gangetic plains due to Islamic gangsterism, because the Congress leadership took to cowardice or pusillanimity ideology under the guise of non-violence. They were simply just even able to resist the street gangsterism. That's why finally they give up and agreed, acquiesced essentially. They were not enthusiastic, but I can say acquiesced at partition and signed the partition document. Once the land came into the Muslims' control, this is the Saif-ul-Islam, might of Islam. Everywhere Muslim gangsterism, Islamic gangsterism did the same thing, erasing their parent body, which they demonize as a Kafirs because their God has told them, and that's what sits conditioned extensively in their mind. So, when the judge Cyril Radcliffe looked in the partition commission, Justice Munir and all those people, Mehr Chand Mahajan was there, and he looked at the statistics of 1941. In the Bari Doab and Multan District, Sahiwal District, Montgomery District, Lahore District were Muslim majority. Muslim majority means more than 50%. Muslim majority, non-Muslim majority. One more point you have to keep in mind is India was not partitioned. Punjab was not partitioned based upon Hindu-Muslim. That is wrong. The official records, if you look at it, they say the partition is done on the basis of Muslims and non-Muslims. Muslims really didn't care Islam and even doesn't notice what they are. They don't pay attention. It's not an intellectual ideology. It is Saif-ul-Islam just enforcing this self-righteous, aggressive belief system under sword. That's it. So it is the partition based upon the Muslims, non-Muslims. So Sikhs and very microscopic Christians and majority Hindus were non-Muslims. So these districts were partitioned. Amritsar district, that is Tarn Taran, Pati, Ajnala, Amritsar. In the Gurdaspur district, Batala, Gurdaspur, Pathankot, and it also has a across the Ravi River, Shakargarh Tehsil. We will deal with this separate presentation that needs more presentation, so I am omitting that. So Amritsar and Gurdaspur districts were awarded to India, that is East Punjab, that is Purbi Punjab, and the entire Bari Doab is awarded to Islamic territory, Darul Islam, and given to Qawwatul Islam, because the mighty sword of Islam was rattled and brandished on the hapless Kafiri people, and whose leaders, the Congress, Gandhiji, Nehruji, were simply incapable of facing the Islamic gangsterism in the Indo-Gangetic plains. That is in brief, the shared story of partition, the partition of the Doabs. Here, by the Islamic imperialism, Saif-ul-Islam, the sword of Islam, slices away Gurdaspur district and Amritsar districts from the Bari Doab, and it annexes the rest of the districts in the Bari Doab, the vast territories, canal colonies of Multan, Montgomery, Sahiwal, Amritsar to Darul Islam, Islamdom. And please look at the works of Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup and Sita Ram Goel. Search their works in the Google, and I also in my posting in the bottom part given the website where you can access their free books and study them in detail. And it's very important to understand the world and Punjab, because now Islam again started making the lot of claims on the Kafiri territories in Europe itself, large scale street riots in Copenhagen, Paris and all. These are all indications of pre-partition times of Islamic street riots and gangsterism. Europeans will be very cautious. They can learn from this sad story and protect themselves. Now, let's look at finally on all the maps. We look at the land. We are looking at the fascinating land of Punjab, the land of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the land of Bule Shah, the land of Gurus. So, this is, we are talking about the Bari Doab and partition of Bari Doab. So this is, let me give you a broad Bari Doab here, the Bari Doab. So this is the Indian part of Punjab. This is the Amritsar area. Excuse me. We have Amritsar, Batala, Gurdaspur. So we have Beas River here. You can see in the Himachal, the Kulu Valley here, Rohtang Pass, and Manali Kulu Valley, upper region of Beas River. The large will be here, Sayanj River, Parbati River here, and Mandi is the northern part of Surendranagar area at the foothills of the Dauladar mountain. You can see here Dauladar mountains, and you see the beautiful Kangra Valley or Beas Valley, and Pong Dam or Maharaja Rana Pratap Singh's Dam, and Beas River enters into Punjab plains at a place called Mirtal, north of Talwara region of Hoshiarpur district. Here, Shola Shigi Dhar or Shola Shigi mountains are Shivaliks mountains here, and the Beas River continues separating Hoshiarpur, Mukherian areas, Kapurthala district, former princely state ruled by Sikh Maharaja, and Pathankot district, Batala, Gurdaspur, Amritsar, Tarn Taran. This is the Radcliffe Line. This is the partition line. The Saif-ul-Islam, the spear of Islam, the sword of Islam, taken away the rest of the Bari Doab, and next it Islam Dam, Kawwatul Islam. So the Bari Doab continues the Lahore region and Kasur region and Chunian region. You can see beautiful southern part of Satluj River. This is the joining of Beas River with Satluj at a place called Harikepattan. You can still see the old Beas continues north of Kasur, and this is the old Beas bed region. And river doesn't flow now, it merges at Harikepattan in Satluj. So Bari Doab continues from Lahore, Kasur. This is the Neeli Bar area, this is the Ganji Bar area. Then we have the Canal colony districts of Sahiwal, Pakpattan. This is Okara and Sahiwal area, and Pakpattan district, Dipalpur historic city, and Vihari area, and Carnival, and this is the Satluj River north of princely state of Bahawalpur, and this is the Ravi River, that is the upper part of Bari Doab, and the river joins at Ahmadpur, Shial. Here Ravi River joins Chenab, and Satluj River joins Chenab at Panjnad area near Uch Sharif. That is the entire Bari Doab here, and Saif-ul-Islam slices away Amritsar District and Gurdaspur District from the Bari Doab. And understanding the Punjab geography, Indian geography, intricate issue of the partition of the parent body by Islam needs the serious yogic perspective, ideological perspective, understanding of Islam is done by Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup, is considered to be a greatest thinker of modern India in the 20th century, that means 1950 to 2000. He passed away in 1998 December. And he's one of the great thinkers, modern greatest thinker of India, and a great critic of comparative religion, brings the fascinating view of inward journey and spiritualism, native religion, and yogic perspective. And you should read it. And some of his books here, you can stop the video and enlarge it and see Voice of India books. This is voibooks.bitbucket.io. That is the website, and you can study them, and very great intellectual work that the people on the planet Earth should read if you want to understand what Islam is and the danger it poses to the Kafiri people, Kafirs. And I use the word Kafir as a pride part, even the Islam uses is a denigrating, demeaning word, is the scum of the earth, but as a Kafirs we take pride, like the pre-Islamic Arabs, pagans, the Quraysh type, who was subdued by the Prophet of Islam. In the sense I am using the word, not in a negative meaning. So, in a sense, about that is the partition of India, and what partition. Today we talked about the partition of Punjab region, Bari Doab, in brief. So what we talked today, we talked about Punjab geography as a part, 1947 partition or Radcliffe Award, partition of the Doab, because we are in the Punjab section of our South Asia partition, the Islamic imperialism and Saif-ul-Islam, the Islamic sword that slices away Gurdaspur district here and Amritsar district here from the Bari Doab, the interflow region, and it annexes the rest of the district. I means annexes, them means rest to Darul Islam, that is Multan and Sahiwal and Lahore areas. And briefly into the concept of Saif-ul-Islam, that is Talwar-e-Islam, that is Sword Islam, imposes Qawwatul Islam, the might of Islam. And Darul Islam means Islamic territory where they populate or they rule, opposed to Darul Harb. Harb means sword. According to some orthodox sections of Muslims, the entire world is Darul Harb, and we are Harbis. Harbis means people to be put to sword. We should be butchered, that's all. That is the theological intonation of Islam. And Darul Harb, to put it politely, mildly, it is Kafir's land, where we, anybody who doesn't believe this ideology, populate. Still, world is predominantly Kafir, Darul Harb. So they have a lot of work. So they are working silently through various manner. Now Europe is their target. Of course, Israel is always the target. The weekly, daily street riots in the Indo-Gangetic Plains, India, Deccans, always the fascination or doings of Islam. It's always there. Islam is a religion of war. We, from the Ram Swarup's perspective, we have taken, because he's one of the great thinker, Mahayogi, and topmost thinker, Sita Ram Goel, Ram Swarup brought this idea of looking at this ideological level, not looking at people. A serious criticism of Islam is a criticism of its book, its God, its concept. It is not criticizing of Muslim people or people born in that culture and civilization. This point is very, very important. I would like to make, else people will start throwing the word Islamophobia, anti-Muslim and so on. It's nothing to do with it. That is killing the intellectual debate, which we should be aware. Lot of Islamic apologists who cannot argue their point logically, intellectually, in a universal moral values, just to throw these words, kind, serious type, so that they want to kill the intellectual debate. That we should not fall into that trap. So Ram Swarup, Sita Ram Goel ji, they defined Islam as an aggressive belief system, self-righteous belief system, a delusional belief system, hate-filled ideology. It is a conversion-based system, converting the non-believers into Islam. It is a political ideology, essentially, disguised under the word religion. It is enforced initially by the swordsmen of Islam, starting with Rasul Muhammad, then the Rashidun Caliphate, then Umayyad Caliphate, then Abbasid Caliphate, and various Islamic swordsmen, Ghurid, Ghaznavis, and Delhi Sultans, Mamluk Sultans, the Mughals, Tipu Sultan, and all those people called swordsmen of Islam, now propagated at an intellectual ideology by salesmen of Islam. So there are two things Ram Swarup, Sita Ram Goel tells us, the coins: swordsmen of Islam, salesmen of Islam. Aware of them, who is salesman, who is swordsman. And essentially this is sold, marketed, imposed on the hapless victims born in their families, in their countries, societies. They have to come out of this ideology and criticize it, start living a normal life. There is no need to fight with anybody at all. And just to carry on your life. That is an essential thing. So that's what we talked about as a part of Punjab geography. We will continue looking at partition of rest of India, and I will open a playlist at an appropriate time, and we'll delve into very deep about various East Bengal partition, West Bengal, Sylhet partition, partition of Gurdaspur district, trying to partition Usmanistan, that is the Marat area and so on. And this is J. Reddy, your South Asia facilitator, and bringing to you the fascinating aspects of South Asian heritage, and with images, icons, and pictures and maps. And I look forward for your comments and how we can make this educational channel better. We will continue our wanderings like all the mighty five rivers. They flow from the Siwalik regions, enter into the great Punjab plains. From Khyber Pass to Delhi Ridge in the south, from Jaskar Mountains of Lahul and Spiti to Kashmir, Kandkot, Maithan Kot in the west, and Suleiman Range and Derawat regions. The fascinating land of Punjab that reverberates with the culture and heritage, where once mighty great Rishis meditated, built a great civilization, which unfortunately the Islamic proselytes tried to erase their heritage and body under the influence of the delusional belief system of Islam, which sliced away Lahore District, Sahiwal District, Multan District from Amritsar and Gurdaspur. And people living in the west part of Punjab say why they lost it, who asked for it, who righted for it, who waged street riots, and those things they have to now question and think for themselves. Thank you very much, and looking forward, and see you later.